One of the best things about teaching is that each year is a fresh start, new students, new school year, and you can try things different. But all that requires you to reflect upon how the previous year went. And so in this video, I just want to reflect upon how how the previous 2 years went, because the whole COVID thing threw everything for a loop. And so as I sit down and think, when this video comes out, it'll basically be the day after the last day of class. And so there's a lot to think about. And thinking back, where did it all start? It started about 2 years ago. When COVID hit. Once again, I live in the United States, California to be specific. And I remember, I think it was around March, about 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago in March, that we got the announcement that, hey, COVID is here, and we're going to, I want everybody to go home. At first, I think it was like the weekend and maybe like the week or 2 weeks, and we didn't know how long it was going to last and what was going to go on. Next thing you know, they tell us, all right, the whole entire school year, you're basically going to be off and start making plans to teach from home. And so this is the middle of the school year. We're suddenly, next thing you know, we are going home. Like, oh my gosh. And we had to figure out what to do. I never taught online before. I didn't know what to do. Neither did anybody else, but we managed. And so last year, that was the first full year where we just did everything online. And that was a unique experience. And if you've been teaching, you know how unique that was. Zoom, I never heard of Zoom before. Right? And so we had to figure different things to do. And luckily last year, as weird and rough as it was, I teamed up with a fellow teacher of mine. He also teaches 8th grade here on campus, 8th grade history. And we teamed up together, and we actually did our Zoom calls together, which actually made it more entertaining, because me and him were able to bounce things back and forth. I think the students found it more entertaining. And so I remember we set up a schedule where we had like notes, or Zoom calls every twice a week, and where we did notes. And then we had one day, which were Ed Puzzles, which are videos that have questions embedded in them. And then the other day, we did something called a Flipgrid, where students recorded themselves. And so that was our format. And it worked. It worked. Was it the best? No, because my personal belief is students get more from actually being in the class than they do from online. But we made it work, and we made it through last year. So those are kind of a weird way to introduce or start into this year. And so once again, this is my 18th year teaching, and I did not know what to expect. I thought, oh my gosh, none of us haven't been in actual classroom for about a year and a half. What is this going to be like? And there's the mask requirements. Mask, I didn't like wearing masks. I would have bet anybody that would have been our biggest problem in the class, is that students would not kept their masks on. And to my surprise, students were used to it. They actually I think the students did a better job keeping their mask on than I did, at least as far as not complaining about it. I was surprised by that. But so we have this year, looking back, this year started in chaos. So this year started, kind of just take you back a little bit, 9 months ago, however long it's been. I remember our how the school works is we usually spend the first day or two going over the school-wide rules and policies. And so we'll have the kids in our class, we'll give them their schedule. We have them for maybe like 2 or 3 hours, go over school-wide policies, and then they go through the rotation of classes. Then the second day, we will give them more of our own classroom rules. But this year started off in chaos because the kids came to our class and we gave them their schedule, but come to find out, those schedules were wrong. It took, I would say, probably about 4 or 5 days before we finally got the scheduling right. They had to keep moving students around. And so what that meant is we couldn't start our normal routine of telling the kids what we expect in the classroom, our classroom rules and expectations. And so I remember me, as well as other teachers, we're trying to figure out what are we going to do with that time. What are we going to do for 2 to 3 days with students where we can't start going over classroom rules procedure? We can't start really teaching them anything because we're going to have different students the following day. So what are we going to do? And I remember me, as well as other teachers, the movie Luca. I cannot tell you how many times I watched the movie Luca at the beginning of the school year. And so it's a good movie, by the way. You haven't seen it, Luca. But we've seen that probably, I don't know how many times I watched that. Probably 10 times I've watched that movie with different classes and different periods at the beginning of the year. But we made it through that first week. And then finally we were able to start getting to some routines. Now, I thought, as well as other teachers, that this is going to be probably the worst year ever because the students I had, once again, last time they were in school were 6th graders, and now they're 8th graders. There's a whole year and a half where they haven't been used to coming to school. I thought my year was going to be nothing but disruptions and behavior issues and all sorts of problems. And much to my surprise, it actually was just the opposite for me. And this is for me because I talk to teachers and I read things on Facebook and read everything else. For most teachers and most students, this is probably one of the hardest years they ever had to encounter or go through at school. But I was lucky enough, I was blessed enough to have the right set of students that actually made this my best year yet. So looking back upon this year, it started off rough, but man, when things finally started going, it actually turned out to be the best year. So I'm very thankful for that. And so what things did I do differently this year than I normally do? Because every year I try something different and I reflect upon the previous year and I add, take away. So one thing I did different this year is I leaned a little bit more into Edpuzzles. Once again, those are videos that students watch and there are questions embedded in that. And the reason I leaned more into that is because with that year we're off for COVID, we leaned into those and those seem to be pretty effective. So I leaned a little bit more into those this year. Another thing I did was at the beginning of the year, and actually something totally new, at the beginning of the year, we went over geography of the world and everything else. And what I did was I created a big map outside and with sidewalk chalk and had the students run around different places. This is kind of their test, run around different places, stand, answer questions based upon the geography of the world. And I really enjoy that. That was at the kind of beginning of the year. And I think it set the right tone for the year because it just something that was entertaining, fun, and actually got them moving around and actually got them to think. So that's something I did a little different this year. What else did I do? This year, later on in the year, if you haven't watched one of the videos, we did something called the Bobcat Boys, which was like a reward for our students. So that was something different this year. So those are some things this year that just at the top of my head that we did were a little different. Now, what am I going to take into next year? Ooh. Next year, I think I'll definitely do that geography thing again. That was quite fun. I'm going to pull back a little bit on the Edpuzzles. I think I spent too much time on them, meaning that I gave the students too much time to work on them, and so I developed more class time towards other things. One thing I would like to do is I haven't done this yet, but I would like to do like a walking teaching lesson or 2 or 3 or 4 where as we're walking, as the class is walking around, where I'm teaching them things. Kind of like I think of Socrates when I talk about this, walking teaching. That seemed like whether I do it or not, I don't know because that's kind of hard to implement. But it's something I think I might like to try to do a couple of times. And so that's one thing I want to take into next year. This year, the other thing that was different was this YouTube channel. I started this YouTube channel a couple months ago, and much to my surprise, it actually was a good thing for students. Students actually liked it. They liked being able to watch. They liked being able to pull the curtains back and to see actually how I ran my class. And I remember there'd be things, students would come into me and go, "Oh, Mr. Vigil, I understand what you're doing with those points." If you watch my videos, you understand I have a point system. Another student would come to me and she'd, "Hey, Mr. Vigil, finish it." She would come to me and say, "Mr. Vigil, stay." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Stay." I go, "Zesty?" She goes, "Yeah, you got it." So it was entertaining. It's funny that students would actually, these videos were created mainly for other teachers, but it was interesting to see my students actually watch these videos as well. But I think this YouTube channel actually kind of brought more of a connection with the students. It gave us something to talk about outside of the normal classroom, subject matter. And then where do we go from here? So thinking about next year, those are a few things I want to change. This summer, reflection-wise, this summer is going to be interesting. Normally I do summer school where I go to the high school and I help students make up a class they might have failed. But this year, our district's having a special program. It's more for enrichment. And so I actually will be here at the middle school teaching an enrichment program, which is something for students, we'll call it entertainment maybe, something beyond just a normal classroom instruction, something that students might find interesting. So we get to choose what we're going to be teaching. And I'm going to be teaching this summer, and I think it's going to be quite interesting. We'll see how it all plays out. I'm going to be teaching how to create a YouTube channel. Hence, I started one 3 months ago, so I thought I might share what I learned so far along the journey. And so that's what I'll be teaching this summer, how to start a YouTube channel. Now maybe I do that half the time. The other half might be strategy games, talking about different strategies such as chess and things of that sort. So it seems like it's going to be kind of quite exciting, actually. I'm looking forward to this summer, just trying out new things. Next year, one thing I want to try to do or implement is we have an advisory period in my school, which is like half an hour at the beginning of the day. And in that, there's different things we're supposed to do, but we're supposed to spend like 1 day or 2 days focus on social emotional learning. And I want to create a curriculum that is based upon something. This gentleman's name is Tom Bilyeu. He's the founder of Quest, or one of the founders of Quest, and also now he has Impact Theory. But he came up with this 25 bullet points of what he believes you need to do to become successful. And I really like a lot of his podcasts and listen to a lot of what he says. And so I thought maybe I could create a curriculum, activities around those 25 bullet points. And so this summer, I think I'm gonna try to work on that as well. So that way next year when it comes, I can, for my advisory class, maybe 1 day, 2 days out of the week, we can try to implement some of those lessons, and hopefully the kids will get some benefit from that. So that's one thing I want to try next year. This summer as well, I believe I need to really start focusing on, personally wise here, a couple of things I need to focus on getting back in shape again, or getting back, maybe, I'm not sure if I ever was in shape, maybe start to get in shape this summer. It's gonna be one of my goals. And so I thought it's, if I'm consistent for the next, 9 months, when I turn 50, I could be in the best shape of my life. So I think now might be a good time to start that. So this summer I'm gonna try to get focused on that and see if I can start moving in the right direction. And also this summer we have 3, like 5-day, 6-day family trips planned. We're gonna be going to Seattle/Canada, Arizona, and Las Vegas. So that should be fun as well. But overall, great year, and I'm looking forward to see what happens next. And hey, click on one of the videos you see above me here for more tips and tricks of the trade. Have a great day and stay zesty.